as I say here and edited this, I realized that it's running into an hour and a half long. So I'm gonna have to set this up into 2 parts. So this would be part 1, and part 2 is coming soon. So look out for it, man.
Hello, daydreamers, and welcome back to the garden. If you're new here, let me introduce myself and share what this space is all about. I'm Pork Chop, and this is Daydreaming in the Garden, your safe space for healing, self-discovery, and growth. Here we unpack the messy, overstuffed closets of our minds, tackle trauma, and explore how it shapes us mentally, physically, and spiritually. I want to thank you for stopping by as we grow, and I want to also thank you for choosing you. I want to take this time to thank you for choosing you for your healing, your mental health, and your well-being. Self-love is hard, but here we try to make it just a little bit easier. One day, one healing time, one daydream at a time. Today we're diving into a topic that's rarely discussed but deeply impactful, and that is the envious mother to mean girl pipeline. I know that many of us have seen it. We have all been a part of it. At some point, I'm sure I was a victim myself. Many of us have felt the weight of resentment from our mothers, perhaps even from as early as we can remember. Very much so. For some of us, this harsh truth is that their mother may have been their first and most persistent critic, hater, and enemy. Even their biggest enemy. It's a dynamic that often gets swept under the rug, and the old adage, what happens in this house stays in this house, just doesn't apply here at the garden. Here we're breaking that silence because what happens in this house will be told. And I genuinely just want to say that as someone who comes from an envious mother and an envious narcissistic mother at that, it plays a very big part in who you are and who you become when you grow up. It even trickled down onto my sister, and I became the envious sibling mother that started hating on my sister for many reasons that I'll break down throughout this episode, because I do feel as though the sibling bond needs to be spoken on as well, for the unspoken cannot be healed. In this episode, we will dissect how this toxic dynamic begins in childhood, how it shapes your mind, your identity, and the relationships that we have as we grow up from childhood to an adolescent to adults. It can unknowingly push you into becoming a mean girl yourself. We'll also discuss how it affects our siblings, as I said, and the dynamics and even our own parenting styles as we grow older. And luckily, with me being able to recognize it with my sister, I was actually able to break that generational curse before it became too late. Sorry if I keep looking off camera, y'all. I got ADHD. My dog is doing a lot. He has the zoomies. But anyway, this conversation isn't about judgment. It's about understanding others, and most importantly, understanding yourself. If this resonates with you, I want you to know that it's okay. Just being here today is proof that you're on a healing journey and you are ready to heal. Whether you're just starting out on your journey, you are in the middle of it, or you are at a point in your journey to where you're hesitant to take the first step, or you're already deep in your healing bag. And I'm so glad that you're here, regardless of what part of your journey you are on, because it is a special place to be. I am finally in my self-love bag, very heavy. And when I say that, it's surreal, guys. It really is. And I just want to let y'all know that I know all of this because I've been there. My healing journey has taken me through places I thought it was never would. And I was a mean girl who came from an envious mother. And for years, I didn't even realize how deeply this dynamic had shaped me. What inspired this episode is not only the anniversary of me going no contact with my mother, but also that this would have been my son's second birthday this week. And I had a miscarriage due to situational circumstances, and reflecting on who I was when I became pregnant with him and who I am now feels overwhelmingly sad, yet satisfying in the best way possible. The growth is real, and it's possible for you as well. We can all grow and heal and come to a point of self-love, self-deservement, self-reflection, self-awareness, and contentment with whatever has happened in our lives. Mother-daughter relationships are incredibly powerful, and they can be loving and nurturing, but they can also be fraught with complications. Even the best relationships have their turbulence. But what about the mothers who harbor resentment toward those daughters, especially as those daughters grow older? Being somebody who watched it happen in full time, it's actually a very scary thing to see, and having to explain that to my sister was actually very heartbreaking for me. It's a dynamic that leaves lasting scars, not just on the daughter, but an entire generational line. And as I said, it did, like, it took me and my sister a while to finally heal from that, and we are still trying to heal from those situations. But today, let's break it down. Let's explore the layers of maternal resentment and its ripple effects. And let's commit to healing, not just for ourselves, but for the daughters, the sisters, the mothers, and the mothers that we are becoming. If you're a mother raising a daughter, or a daughter healing from this type of dynamic, this space is for you. It's time to let go and let whoever you pray to, even if you don't pray to somebody, it's time to let go. Let's grow together, one daydream at a time. So for this episode, we are going to break this down into a couple of different segments. The first segment is the ghost of her past. So let's take a moment to reflect on this. Did your mother grow up in a home where she wasn't emotionally supported? Was she mistreated by her mother? Was she allowed to be mistreated by others? By her mother or, her parental figure? That can take a toll on you as a person in general, because my mother came to the conclusion that as long as she wasn't as bad as her mother, she was a good mother. And that wasn't how that worked. Did your mother have to sacrifice her dreams to raise a family, and that you are now a thriving daughter that she looks at and decides that she sacrificed all that for you? She didn't have a chance to do that. And in some ways, that resentment can harbor. If you answer yes to any of these, it's important to understand that this can unintentionally stir up feelings of jealousy or regret within her. And on the flip side, if you're struggling in a way similar to what she went through, if your experiences mirror the pain she endured as a child, it could very well serve as a major painful reminder of what she couldn't overcome herself. Especially as someone who is overcoming a lot of trauma and a lot of death within life, and they didn't, and don't want to. And it's not to say that she doesn't love you, but her actions may simply be the result of unhealed trauma and pain projected onto you, which is more than likely always the case. Always. It's not you, it's them. This dynamic can be conscious or unconscious, because maternal envy typically stems from a combination of securities, unfulfilled ambitions, and societal pressures. To be honest, she might not even know why she reacts the way she does. While this is no excuse for the way she treats you or the abandonment that has been brought because of this, we do need to know that keeping this perspective in mind can help you to understand and to try and relate, and get a deeper meaning behind the why of her behavior. But you can understand it without respecting it. And that's where I am with my mother, and why we have gone almost 5 years no contact, because I don't have to respect that. I don't have to deal with you because of the decisions you made, even though I respect them, even though I feel like those were the most logical decisions you had at the time. It's not respected, and your actions after that. But there are countless reasons why maternal envy can surface, and one of the most overlooked is the immense weight of societal pressures, something many of us don't fully understand until we have kids of our own. Pretty much. And that was one of the reasons I decided to go no contact, because even with societal pressures, I still felt like there were some things that were just, I didn't understand and I won't respect. Society places relentless expectations on women to remain youthful, attractive, and perfect in every aspect of life, appearance, motherhood, relationships, and career. As women age, especially after having children, society often begins to devalue them, reinforcing cultural narrative of competition that glorifies youth above all else. And the more I dive into a lot of these topics, the more I keep coming up on the red pill incel community and the fact that they absolutely do glorify dating teenagers. Kids young enough to be their kids is insane. I don't get it, and they try to make it feel like we've aged out. And I can understand why some mothers can come to the conclusion that they are in competition with their daughters. Mothers can unconsciously absorb these harmful ideas, sometimes perceiving their daughters as rivals instead of allies. In a society that prioritizes youth, mothers may feel left behind, invisible, or even unattractive as their daughters enter their prime years of beauty, vitality, and opportunity. And prime. For many mothers, this stark contrast can bring up feelings of regret as they reflect on missed opportunities or dreams. They sacrifice for their families or societal expectations, which is, when you think about it, it's really sad and something that I hear a lot, especially as I got older. And one thing I refused to do was, I'm not gonna say just F my child, but it came down to it that I didn't want to just be a mother. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to also be a business owner and somebody that fulfilled their purpose in life. I've been the housewife. I don't like it. I don't like it. But anyway, these emotions are often intensified in cultures or communities where women's choices have historically been limited. The societal messaging prepared with personal sacrifice can create a competitive mindset that pits mothers against their daughters. Despite their love for them, understanding this dynamic is key. And when I say key, to unpacking the complex emotions at play. And to be honest, a lot of it doesn't have to really be a complex emotion. There is a lot of times where like women come from resentful mothers. And so in turn, they just become resentful. I mean, it is complex psychologically, but when you break it down like that, it's really not that complex, is it? These dynamics and thought processes can affect you as the daughter in several profound ways, often creating a ripple effect that impacts your emotional and mental well-being. We all have experienced this. We are all going through it. One of my most difficult and hits the heart things is when somebody tries to call me an unfit mother just to get under my skin because of the dynamic I have with my mother. So psychologically, we didn't stand a chance, guys. We did. But emotional confusion is one way that this dynamic affects the daughter. One major effect of emotional confusion, you may struggle to reconcile why the person who is supposed to nurture, support, love, and uplift you, the person who is meant to love you unconditionally, seems instead to be very critical, dismissive, or even unloving. Yeah. I remember one time I told my mom I needed to go to the doctor because I felt kind of funky down there. And I ended up having to skip school and go myself and then got in trouble for skipping school. And it was all because she just wanted to be dismissive of everything that I had going on. This can create an internal conflict where you question your own worth and wonder if you're truly deserving of love. And for a lot of us, that's why we grow up, especially if you have been SA'd as a child, you grow up trying to find love. You go up trying to replace that love because you just want that unconditional love. Because in a sense, we are hardwired to understand that our parents are supposed to give us unconditional love. And when they don't, we go looking for it. And with that, I would like to go into the fact that the distorted perception of love is another way that this confusion often follows you into adulthood, affecting how you perceive and experience love. You might find yourself unsure of what healthy love looks like, leading to a pattern of unhealthy or unbalanced relationships. This can cause you to equate love with criticism, conditional acceptance, or a need to prove yourself to others. Especially if you have come from a narcissistic mother, we definitely come to a point. I literally went no contact with my mother and then ended up with a narcissistic significant other for the first time in my life. I replaced my mother. And please be aware of that. Please be aware of the fact that there is times where you will seek out the people you've cut off, and other people. We've been internalized with pressure and guilt growing up under this dynamic, and it can also result in a deep sense of internalized pressure. You might feel guilt for your youth, beauty, or success, as though thriving means taking something away. As though thriving means taking something away from your mother. This guilt can manifest in self-sabotage or an unconscious effort to shrink yourself. And that goes back to what I was saying about being with the narcissistic ex. And It was self-sabotage in the best way that I could possibly put it. We become self-sabotagers because we don't want to outshine our mothers. You get to this unconscious effort to shrink yourself, to dim your light, just to feel worthy of love and acceptance. And over time, this can chip away at your confidence and make you hesitant to embrace your accomplishments fully. I remember one time I was finally getting ready to graduate the 8th grade. I literally barely made it through the 8th grade because I had started running away because I started living with my mother. And graduation day came up and she dropped me off and said, I'll be at the important one because I'm finna go home and smoke. And it became one of those things that day I came to the conclusion that no matter what I did, she would never be happy. Like, I've never heard my mother say she's proud of me. And the first time I heard her say, I love you without me saying it first, that I can remember, I was 13 years old. And there was always this low-lying resentment with my mother for the fact that, in a sense, you made the best decisions you had, but you also hated me for those decisions that you made. And I know that there is plenty of people who feel the exact same way I feel, and for that, I am sorry. I am sorry. It is not your fault. And in a sense, it isn't their fault. It is a pattern of generational curses that lay as the foundation for that family dynamic. And I've cut off my entire mother's side of my family for that exact reason, because the dynamic, the foundation needs to crumble. And I refuse to be a part of keeping it going. I refuse to be a part of filling in those cracks and trying to, I don't want this family to thrive. I want to make my own one, a healthy one, and I am, and we all can, but you can't force it. We have to let it be. And with that, I really just wish you happy healing on this journey if you are watching this and you can resonate with everything that I am saying, because it is going to be a long one. I'm sorry, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be long. It's going to be tough. But you got this. You got this. Sorry about that. Sorry about getting there. But okay, so another way that this affects the daughter long term is chronic inadequacy and self-worth issues. Living under a mother's jealous gaze can leave you with chronic feelings of inadequacy. You might develop the belief that your worth is tied solely to your achievements, your physical appearance, or even how well you can meet others' expectations, which was a very big one for me. Like, I felt like I was a very big people pleaser because of my mother and her envious ways. And it's a horrible way to live, guys. This can create a relentless cycle of perfectionism where you're always striving for external validation while feeling like you'll never measure up. And writing this script was very revealing to me because I was like, I never stood a chance. Like, Lord, God, you really thought I was one of your strongest soldiers, huh? But the long-term impacts of this can be detrimental. These feelings don't just disappear. As you grow older, they can shape your self-esteem. They can shape your relationships and even the way you navigate the world. Like, it's a very hard thing to overcome, but once you overcome it, you feel so relieved. Like, you may find yourself repeating these patterns in your own life, holding back out of fear of being too much, seeking approval from others at the expense of your own happiness. It's okay. It's okay. I'm here with you. We're here together. Hugs. Additionally, if you choose to become a mother yourself, these unresolved issues can influence how you parent. And to this day, I'm still healing on that. Like, I do my best to make sure that I'm nothing like my mother, making it even more crucial to address and heal from these dynamics when you are sitting there. Like, it's something me and my therapist are going through at the moment to try to get it out. I gotta flush that thing out. But it's a lot to deal with, you guys, especially when you are actively mothering. So give yourself grace. And understanding these effects is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Recognizing how deeply these dynamics can affect your sense of self is essential for reclaiming your worth and redefining your relationship with love, success, and self-acceptance. And I really do just want to let you guys know that if this video resonates with you, that is okay. If you have not cut your mother off because you feel like that you can like reconcile, that is also okay. But we have to remember that when we are trying to reconcile with people like that, they have to be willing to do the reconciliation as well. I remember when I tried to reconcile with my mom and said we should just heal, maybe do some family therapy, like, and I say this in all my videos. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you because you have to be. I was not prepared for that type of answer, and like to tell me you don't owe me an apology and I'm the only one that should apologize for being such a shit daughter is insane. I wasn't ready for that, and that took me down a very deep dark path of like self-resentment. Like I did a lot of self-sabotaging and copious amounts of illicit substances, and it was a lot. I really went down a very dark path. I ended up homeless for a while. Like there was a lot there because I at that point I came to the conclusion that maybe I was the problem. You know, so I kept going. I did my apologies and I decided that it was time for me to be the bigger person. And sometimes we have to realize that being the bigger person, you don't always got to be the bigger person. Sometimes you can just be the bigger person by walking away and never talking to them again. All right, so the next thing we're going to cover is the mirror effect. One reality, whether we like it or not, is that daughters often act as mirrors for their mothers. And this took me a very long time to accept. I didn't want to accept it, but we did come from their womb. So you will have characteristics of your mother. Accept it, it's okay. These reflections can sometimes be deeply uncomfortable as they bring unresolved insecurities, unfulfilled dreams, or buried emotions to the surface. This dynamic can evoke envy or frustration in a mother, particularly when her daughter highlights aspects of herself. She struggles to reconcile with that. Like it's really hard to reconcile with parts of you that you hate and seeing it in your daughter. Think about that, you know? Like these reflections of unresolved pain can show in many ways, and one of them is for them to be envious and show hatred towards you for that reason. If a mother has wrestled with self-doubt, failure, or shame, she might see those same struggles in her daughter and feel frustrated, not necessarily with her daughter, but the situation and herself as a whole. And this frustration can manifest as criticism, overprotection, or even just emotional distance, you know, and it can leave us, the daughters, feeling very confused about the relationship and our roles within the dynamic of the relationship. Then, on the flip side, if the daughter embodies qualities of the mother she suppressed as the mother that she suppressed in herself, like boldness, confidence, or independence, like honestly just being a liked person, you know, or the mother may feel envious or even threatened by her daughter's ability to thrive because, you know, it's one of those things where you really just have to accept the fact that sometimes some people just are haters. And no matter how psychological it makes sense, that's the best way to put it. General expectations and projections can be set on you. Mothers may project their unmet goals, societal pressures, or personal insecurities onto their daughters. For example, a mother who wasn't allowed to pursue higher education might both push and resent her daughter for excelling. And similarly, if the mother struggled with body image issues, seeing her daughter be so confident can also be a major reason that she shows resentment herself, because she was not able or maybe allowed to be comfortable in her own skin, and it can be a reminder of her unresolved pain. These projections can create a double bind for the daughter, who may feel like she's either falling short or being punished. And it's like either way, you can't win in those situations. And it's okay to feel like that you can't win with your mom, because sometimes you just can't. They are supposed to love, nurture, provide, and support us through right and wrong. But let's get real for a second. Like, some mothers just don't have the nurturing properties. And one of the things we don't always talk about, whether we like it or not, is how daughters can act as a mirror for their mothers. And those reflections, they're not always easy to look at. Think about it. Let's just really, let's sit back for a second and really think about, if a mother has wrestled with self-doubt, failure, or shame, seeing her daughter face similar struggles. If a mother has wrestled with self-doubt, failure, or shame, seeing her daughter face similar struggles can stir up frustration. And then equally seeing her not have to battle with those struggles can equally bring up frustration. But that frustration that comes from seeing her unresolved pain staring back at her is not your fault. It's not. And then on the flip side, if a daughter embodied traits that the mother suppressed, like boldness, confidence, independence, that reflection can sometimes hurt just as much as well. And it's not about the lack of love. It really isn't, because I refuse to believe that my mother just didn't love me. But it's like being with a toxic person in a relationship. It's about unhealed wounds resurfacing in unexpected ways. And it can be a lot to deal with for the mother and the daughter. And then there's the issue of the generational expectations. A mother might project her own unmet goals or societal pressures onto her daughter. For example, if she wasn't allowed to pursue higher education, she might push her daughter to excel academically, but also feel a tinge of resentment when her own daughter thrives in ways she couldn't. Or if she struggled with body images and issues, seeing her daughter comfortable in her own skin can be a lot. A painful reminder of what she never felt for herself. And that can be a lot. It can come in a lot of different ways, and it can be overwhelming for the mother as a whole. And here we play devil's advocate. We try to look at all sides of it. And it's okay to say that, especially if you had a mother that came from very tough beginnings and rough beginnings, as my mother did, and it's not my story to tell, so I would not be telling a lot of my mother's stories. But she had a very mother-daughter dynamic with the mother of her own, and those type of dynamics can affect daughters in so many ways that go much deeper than we might realize. And what happened was, it trickled down to me. It trickled down to my sister, and where it was going to stop is my daughter and my daughter's daughters and the daughters after me. But there's the emotional overload. Daughters may feel like they're constantly too much or not enough. It's like you're stuck in this never-ending cycle of doubt, trying to adjust yourself to avoid criticism or resentment. And that's really not a way to live. And once I came to the conclusion that I just don't care no more, life became a lot more easier. You have this suppression of authenticity to avoid triggering their mother's envy or discomfort. Daughters might start shrinking themselves. And it becomes one of those things where they might downplay their success, their beauty, or their achievements in order to keep their mother from being envious, because let's be real, like, nobody wants their mom mad at me. And there's times where we'll even downplay our personality just to keep peace. And does a lot of this sound familiar in some of your relationships? Sounds very familiar in mine. Over time, that can lead to a deep sense of emptiness, like you're losing yourself bit by bit. And in a sense, you are. You don't get to be who you were born to be. Come on. He was down there crying. Did y'all hear him? And then let's talk about identity struggles. Let me so y'all can see him a little bit. Let's talk about identity struggles. When you grow up under your mother's projections, it becomes hard to figure out where your feelings end and hers begins. Your ambitions really are not your ambitions, and they are reactions of what she wanted for you or what she didn't want for you. The kind of confusion can leave you feeling fractured, like you don't really know who you are. And that can be a lot to deal with. It really can, because in a sense you don't know who you are. All you know is that you are who ever kept your mom happy at the time. And that's a lot. It's a lot. On top of that, growing up as an emotional mirror for your mother can make it hard to establish boundaries. I didn't have boundaries. I'm not gonna lie. I just did whatever made people happy. You might feel responsible for her happiness, her emotional well-being, and even her dreams. that's a lot on a child, you know? So please give yourself grace as you heal from this moment. That it makes it tough to prioritize your own needs in relationships or say no without feeling guilty. And to this day, I still have that problem, but I do it anyway. Because if no means no, and I don't want to, I just don't. So, you know, like, it's okay to still feel guilt. I do. It's okay. But let's not forget about the confusion about love. When love in your household feels tied to criticism or competition, it can mess with your idea of what love is supposed to be. You might overcompensate. We all do that a lot. We overcompensate in relationships or struggle to recognize healthy ones because we're used to love bombing and neglect. That's just what it is. If you grew up with an envious mother or a narcissistic mother or both, you are used to envy, neglect, competition as love. And that's not love, dear. It's just sad to say. You know, it's tough to come to that conclusion, but here's the thing. Breaking this cycle is possible. For daughters, it starts with recognizing that your mother's envy, frustration, or projections aren't actually about you. They're often about her own unresolved pain. That perspective, you know, it's powerful. It can be powerful, and it also hurts because, you know, that means that we were raised on hurt. We were raised on hurt. We were raised on vengeance. We were raised on insecurities. We were raised on a lot of things that we are now trying to heal and reclaim our identity to figure out who we are so we don't do that to our own kids. And for you being here, that means that you are doing a great job. Reclaim your identity. Take the time to figure out who you are and what you want outside of anyone else's expectations. Set boundaries, not to push your mother away, but to protect your own emotional energy. And if protecting your own emotional energy means pushing her away, that is completely okay. I refuse to tell you that that is not okay. It is absolutely okay. And most importantly, redefine what love means to you. Build relationships that feel healthy, reciprocal, and aligned with your values. Find people that you feel like aren't using you or abusing you or neglecting you in any type of way. Find love that feels genuine to you. And for any mothers that are watching this that are currently guilty of all of this, reflect on how societal pressures, unmet goals, or personal insecurities might be shaping your relationship with your daughter. Embrace her individuality as a win for both of you, not as a threat or a reminder of what you could have been or what you didn't have. That it's not fair to her. Healing is possible for both sides, but it takes active communication and an ability to want to do it. Breaking these patterns isn't easy, but it's worth it. Because when we heal, we don't just do it for us. We do it for the generations of people that come after us. And let's remember that as you know, go through the days and you look through the nights and you go through the pain and you look back at the memories and you feel that pain. Let's remember that we don't want our kids to feel that pain. And the fact that you are here today lets me know that you don't want that. So let's actively take this healing journey seriously, because at the end of the day, it's our responsibility, no one else's. It's not your mother's responsibility for you to heal. It's not your responsibility to heal her. It is your responsibility to take the correct actions and make the correct moves in order to heal, not only for you, but for your daughter, for your kids. For everything that makes you whole again, it's for you.